Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you. You're watching a brand new episode of Encounter. Today, our guest is Shiv Yog Acharya. He's also the founder of Yoga for Immortal Researcher Foundation. He's also a professor of yoga-based resilience training at a university and also a director of mental health at an NGO called Wheels Global, amongst many other things he does. He also loves Mauritius. He's a Mauritian. He's none other than Ishan Shivanand. Very warm welcome to you, Ishan, and thank you very much for being here at the studios of MBC.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's a pleasure to be here and talk to all the lovely people.
Fantastic. And for our viewers of Encounter, Ishanji was one of our guests in our first or second season of Encounter. And it's such an honor and such a pleasure to have him again, because it's always nice to have an update on what he has been doing in life. And for me personally, every time that I meet him, he comes up with so many inspiring things that he has been doing that it makes me feel so grounded that it's such a pleasure to talk to him every time. Ishanji, today the theme that we will be speaking is mental health for Mauritius.
Yes, sir.
So probably we have to start from the person who you were a little bit more before in terms of the perspective. You're more seen as a spiritual guru. But recently you have spent a lot, if not say most of your time in terms of research and development, focusing on mental health, which falls very well for the fourth season of Encounter. Can you share with us a little bit what have been your main findings in terms of mental health, and especially for Mauritius?
Yes, sir. So basically in about 2008, I started to teach. I'm a Shiv Yoga Acharya, so my specialty was meditation, Shiv Yoga, and the modalities of Sanatan Dharma. And I used to think that that's what I'm capable of, spiritual education. But once I started to travel the world, I saw that there was a mental health crisis. And in fact, when we look at non-pharmaceutical modalities and behavioral modification therapies, a lot of it relies on teachings of the subcontinent. Because if you look at the best rehabs, if you look at the best mental health institutions, there are the pharmaceutical interventions for the severe cases, but whenever we are looking at not so severe cases, everybody gets a prescription of meditation, of yoga, of breath work, of pranayam, and then I realized, hey, that's my heritage. So maybe I am not just a spiritual person after all, because nobody can have expertise on these subjects the way I can, because I was born in it, I was brought up in it. I am a 21st generation Acharya coming from the lineage of Shiv Yoga, the son of the great master, Dr. Avadhut Shivanand, who himself had done a lot of research on integrative therapies. At that time, I realized that I must do more. I must not let myself remain in a bubble of my own ecosystem. I must come out with these modalities, because we have to understand yoga and meditation-based modalities are one of the most exploited and least regulated right now. Anybody, anywhere, in California, we have the saying, you throw a stone and it hits a yoga teacher. Anybody can say that, oh, I am an expert. And it is, to an extent, it is fine because there is awareness, but to an extent, it is not good because these are not research-based modalities. These are not the correct modalities. For example, if I see a surgeon doing surgery and I try to mimic it, then there is maybe 1 in 1,000 chance that my patient will survive, but definitely I have just mimicked the surgery. I don't know the surgery. No. In the same way, when people look at the spiritual masters of the East, they may mimic them, but they may not know the intricate philosophies behind the whole process. And every time you look at the West, there are always these books of people acting like Prometheus, where they go and they try to find fire and bring it back. But there is no representation of the Eastern masters themselves. So I thought it was high time that one of us goes there, starts doing the research in a correct manner to bring out the correct protocols that need to be brought to the youth that are so vulnerable today. Because one thing is for sure, we know meditation works when it comes to mental health. We know yoga works when it comes to mental health. But imagine if we can provide a standardized, research-based protocol, then we have the power to institutionalize these modalities in healthcare, something that the world desperately needs today. And that is why I thought some things you can't do as an acharya, so some things you have to do as a professor.
If I understand well,
Yes,
so we have the knowledge,
yes,
we have people teaching us,
yes,
and we have people learning those teachings.
yes,
So, but there's a gap in the middle. So what you're trying to work is to fill in this gap so that people can connect more to the teachings that are being given.
yes. The gap is research and implementation. If today I say I want to have an authentic experience and I want to delve into Sanatan Dharma, it's thousands and thousands of years of history. Where do I start? We have Shaivism, we have Vaishnavism, we have Shaktiism, we have various sutras, we have Gita, we have Ramayana, we have Vedas, we have Upanishads. It's just so overwhelming that I'll get into the room, I'll get overwhelmed and I'll just say, it's not, I can't do anything. So somebody has to delve into the ancient theology, the ancient philosophies, take out SOPs, standard operating procedures, research upon them, and then implement them where they are needed the most, so that when a person says, I want to experience the health, the mental peace that is being talked upon, then I precisely know what to do. Because today's generation, we have been ruined by apps. We have been sort of spoiled, I won't say ruined, spoiled by a perfect SOP. Whenever we look at Google or Facebook, there's a whole structure. So when we look at Sanatan Dharma and we look at the ambiguity, that it's all based upon variables, then a person gets overwhelmed, because then where's the structure?
Okay.
And that's why we say that first we research, we find out the best possible route from point A to point B. And of course, there will be some ounce of variability. There is also in pharmaceutical. But our job as researchers, as acharyas, is to find the path of minimum resistance and to educate people on that path so that they can also experience that peace that they are looking for.
You just mentioned the path of minimal resistance.
Yes, sir.
Can you define that?
There is individual resistance, definitely, but then there can be resistance in the protocol itself. For example, if today I say, I want to let my hair loose and I want to relax and I want to be happy, then the social structure says that, oh, let's go out Friday night, let's party, let's dump a bunch of ethanol in ourselves, and that's joy, that's happiness. But if we look at the data, mental health has severely declined. If we look at the data, substance abuse disorders has severely gone up, family values have declined, family structure has declined, physiological health has declined, cardiovascular health has become worse, neurological health has become worse. So you can say, you can claim that that gives me joy, but when you look at the tangible and intangible cost of what exactly you are doing, that's a structural critical failure. So that is what we have to overcome, the path of resistance that our mind develops. What is defined as Maya, that you think this is good, but this is not good.
So we are not asking the right questions and we're just going with the flow instead of trying to do what is the best thing for us from point A to point B.
Precisely, sir. That is exactly. We need to ask the right questions, but also we need to be exposed to the right knowledge.
So that's why you're here.
I am trying, sir, because in India, there's a saying, Bandar kya jane adrak ka swad, meaning a monkey never explores ginger because it doesn't know ginger, it never seeks ginger. In the same way, a lot of the times I go to young people and I say, meditation and the joy of meditation, they say, bro, we don't know. We've never experienced it. So how can you want us to seek something we have zero idea about? And then they say, we've tried meditation. And I say, what have you tried? We downloaded an app and we did this and we did that. And, you know, we watched a YouTube video. It is very, very important to provide awareness as well as the right protocol.
You mentioned earlier the path of minimal resistance, taking you from point A to point B. So what would be the best path for point A to point B based on the research of mental health?
The world is tiresome right now, cumbersome. A lot of variables are not in our control. Hence, it becomes imperative that schools, colleges, institutions introduce such modalities, research-based, into their learning management systems, into their structures. Because, you know, long time ago,
Are you saying that we are losing who we are? Or we have already lost who we are? We are well on the way to losing who we are.
we are a stone on the beach being hammered by waves. How long before we become sand?
But we're being polished, right?
For now, and isn't being polished an illusion?
Maya.
For how long are we polished? How long can we remain? It is like an act.
Okay.
If we look at a student or we look at a high-paid professional who's suffering from severe anxiety, every day he has a cup of coffee, in the evening he has a glass of wine, he looks very polished, but how tedious it is to maintain that act, and one day that stone becomes sand.
Okay.
And that is the time that person says, oh, now I don't know what to do, so much time has gone, so much mental health is gone, so much physiological health is gone.
Forgive me for asking you this, Ishanji. Have you suffered from mental health? Or
I
have you
have.
come around it so that you start realizing that, you know, research needs to be done about it? Because I think it always starts from a personal experience. You were born in it, yes, but you have to know how it goes. So that
Oh, I had chronic anxiety when I was growing up because my father is a great man. And when I was a child, I would always be judged against him.
yeah, the pressure will be on your shoulders.
Exactly. So whenever I would enter into a room, everybody would scrutinize whatever it is that I am doing. So I always felt that I had to outshine myself. I always had to act like a 50-year-old, even though I was a 5-year-old.
Sure.
And I couldn't laugh as a child. I couldn't jump as a child because if I did, then people would say, Diya tale andhera. And chronic anxiety can lead to depression sometimes. And that is when I realized that, you know, there's this concept of madhu and keta, which means caring too much about people who like you and caring too much about people who are disgusted by you. Through meditation, I had to overcome that feeling of anxiety and sorrow that came not from me, but by expectations people had upon me. So definitely there is an internal journey that I had to overtake. But that is the point I want to tell you, Roshan ji, that India has always never shied from the hero's journey. If we look at the Gita,
Yeah.
Arjuna is a great hero,
Yes.
but the war starts with him crashing with a severe panic attack, with a serious bout of depression, that how can I fight? I am not capable.
So you had to have the talk with Krishna ji to
And-
find the right perspective.
And Lord
and
Krishna is the first mental health professional who's telling him that, wait, let me give you the tools and the modalities of the Bhagavad Gita so that you can overcome your inner dilemma and do your duty. And we have these stories everywhere. Buddha,
Yep.
if you look at Buddha,
Yeah, he had a breakdown when he went outside.
Exactly. He
Yes.
had a breakdown and then he had to take that journey. So that's why we have to understand breakdowns are not bad. Why do we shame them? Breakdowns happen. If it can happen to Buddha and he can come out stronger and enlightened, if it can happen to Arjuna and he can come out with the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita being showered upon him, then why can't it happen to Roshan and Ishan?
Oh, 100%. It's just very new to me. Nobody's put it in terms of those kind of perspectives, but it's very refreshing, Ishanji.
Yes, sir, and that's what I always tell to the youth. It doesn't matter if you break down. What matters is, do you have the strength to stand back up?
For failures is all right.
Yes, sir, and we have to understand that in South Asian populations, we like to shame the hero. We like to shame a breakdown. We like to shame tears. We like to shame sorrow. We like to shame anger. And that's why, if we look at the research of Jayadeva Cardiovascular Research Institute. Under 40, we have the highest heart attacks. We are soon becoming, South Asian population, India, the heart attack capital of the world. Why? Because we are not considering the psychological impacts on our cardiovascular health and physiological health. And if we don't focus on resolving our cognitive issues through behavioral modification like meditation, yoga, sadhana, etc., then we are looking at an abyss from which it is hard to crawl out of.
How do we start tackling this issue of mental health? Because most people do not realize they have a mental health issue until they are deep into it. So what would be the first step from point A to point B? Let's start working. What can we share with people in terms of helping them coming out?
It starts with an intervention and it ends with an intervention. Intervention, education, awareness, intervention.
Can you walk us through it quickly? Is it possible?
Yes, sir. So intervention is basically first allowing a modality to come in your life. A modality like yoga for
For immortals, yeah.
modality like Shiva Yoga, any modality.
Can we take the example of Yoga for Immortals as an example and walk through it?
Yes, sir. So in Yoga of Immortals, we try to master 4 parameters of our being. The first is the physiology. So we do that through body consciousness. The second is breath work, because our breath is very, very
Pranayama,
important.
yeah.
Going deeper, going more protocol based, going towards our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Then our intention, our dharana, our ongoing flow of thoughts, and finally mastering our emotions, because emotions is what creates perspective in life. If we don't have positive psychological emotion, then we will remain in a complaining, depressive state.
This is what affects our memory and our imagination also.
And our sleep and our neurological health, etc.,
100%.
etc. So this is the intervention that focuses on all 4 aspects. We provide that. Once that is done, then we start to provide education, that what you are going through, it is normal, it happens. And these are the interventions. When you do that, things will get better, but not immediately. There has to be a progression. There has to be managing expectations as well, because people think, oh, they have severe anxiety, they go, they put their head in front of God, they come out and they'll be fine. It's like saying a person is obese, he goes to the gym, he does matha to the treadmill, comes out and angry that why don't I have 6-pack? There has to be managing of expectation, there has to be an education. And Sanatan Dharma did that beautifully.
And the effort also has to be put in diligently over a period of time. It's not a
Chronic
fast solution.
effort. Yes, sir. It is a chronic effort. We have done studies, 30-day studies, 3-month studies, 90-day studies, where we found out that the maximum impact is when there are follow-ups. So education is based upon follow-ups. You can't just do it as a one-hit wonder. It has to be progressive. And then comes awareness. Awareness is once you start to derive that benefit,
You start seeing results coming.
then you start helping other people.
Yes. Yeah.
And that awareness has to come, because we need to change society. It is very difficult being a sane person in a mad society. It's very difficult being a sober person in a drunk party.
When you share with people, does it strengthen your belief and your progression also? Because then you must have had mastered parts of it that you're sharing with others, but it also makes you stronger to go further down the line.
Precisely. It makes you feel amazing. It makes you feel great, and it helps people feel great.
But
because
they will tell you that, oh, you're boasting, you're so proud, you're sharing all the results you've done, and yeah, get lost.
my feeling is helping good people become better. Yes, out of 5, 2 people will say, 3 won't. And you will be amazed how desperately people are looking for help.
So you focus on the 3 ones.
You focus on the 3, and eventually the 2 will come if they want to, and if their time is not right, it is not your job. The last is again the intervention, which are the follow-ups. You don't stop your journey after reaching to a certain point. Evolution is a continuous process. So you keep on working on yourself, keep on progressing the interventions, keep on exploring, because end of the day, the whole point here is an inward journey. We have tried this during COVID time. We were doing a research on the quality of life, where externally the quality of life was worse, but people who were provided the meditative intervention, they had the best quality of life. We found that slowly, if a meditative intervention was provided, they can develop a good quality of life. And what that showed us, that intangibles like peace, joy, love, happiness, creativity, they come from inside. There is no external parameter that can bring those feelings inside us. There's no Rolls Royce, there is no villa in an IRS, there is no private jet that can give you that joy. That is a very, very internal thing. And if that is an internal thing, then the internal endeavor has to be put. It's simple. You want to lose weight, you can't read physics. As simple as that. You want inner joy and happiness, you can't just procure stuff. Meditation is the key to inner peace.
Ishanji, if I want more information on Yoga for Immortals, can I just Google it and it will direct me to where I need to go?
Yes, you just Google Yoga of Immortals research. Google will give you all the peer-reviewed research articles. There's a website as well. You Google Ishan Shivanand, you'll find a lot of material, and Google has been kind.
Very kind. Well, thank you very much, Ishanji, for being with us here, but also for all the research that you've been doing for over a decade now, and the results are showing. But before we conclude this interview, would you like to share a few words to our viewers watching at home or online?
I want to share that there is hope. There is hope that you will learn that you deserve joy, you deserve happiness. If this is just the two mantras that you can bring in your life, which is I deserve love, I deserve health, I deserve happiness, then trust me, gates will open and you will find a way. And in that way, you will always find people like me willing to guide you, hold your hand, and take you out of whatever it is that you are suffering from. And on the other path, you will see the light and you will see the best version of yourself. And remember the mantra, I deserve it. You do. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ishanji, for these kind words. Thank you very much for being with us on this episode of Encounter. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of it, and I wish I could record a second episode, but it is not in my hands. But I will not be greedy, because you've been on the program before, and you will be on the program again after. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you, and keep shining, Ishanji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you very much, Ishanji, for your time and presence here in the studios of the MBC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. If you have any questions or queries on the guests or on the topic discussed, drop an email. It's encounter@mbc.itnet.mu. Until the very next program, goodbye.